Imagine this. You're on her couch with a movie humming in the background, and she mentions an old trip to Bali with someone she used to date. You nod and smile, but your stomach tightens like a fist. Suddenly you're not in the room. You're trapped in a mental slideshow: the beach, the hotel room, the imagined touch, the imagined laugh. With every image you shrink a little. This is the moment most men lose themselves, not because of her past, but because of the meaning they attach to it, because in that second you measure yourself against a ghost and tell yourself you're already behind. Here's the truth. Almost no one tells you her past isn't the problem. Your relationship to your worth is. Insecurity feeds on imagination. It grabs one tiny detail and spins a whole movie where you watch from the sidelines while someone else gets the lead. When you're not rooted in purpose, standards, and self-trust, any fragment becomes a weapon against you: an old photo, a college story, a lingering DM from an ex. You don't need a therapy marathon to understand the mechanics. You need strategy in real time. And strategy begins with awareness you can act on, not feelings you drown in. Start with your body, that heat in your chest, the shallow breath, the sudden need to talk too much, to compare, to compete. Those are sirens. Sit back, drop your shoulders. 5 slow counts in, 5 out. Then do the opposite of what fear demands. Do not interrogate, do not bargain, do not perform your way into safety. Evaluate what's in front of you. Is she with you now? Does she initiate, reciprocate, show up on time, keep her word, protect the connection from drama? Past is data, present behavior is the truth. If the present is respectful and consistent, stop letting an old image push you into smallness. And if the present is chaotic and disrespectful, you don't need a debate, you need distance. Now, if she uses her past as leverage, oversharing sexual highlights to provoke you, name-dropping exes whenever you set a boundary, comparing you to other men to make you chase, don't argue, plead, or perform. Break the frame. Calmly say, I'm not interested in being in a triangle. If you want to compare, do that without me. Then go quiet. Not sulking or pouting clean. Collected silence. Keep your plans. If the disrespect continues, end the night early. Indifference here is not a game. It's a signal that you run your life, and you will not audition for attention. Here's a scenario you'll recognize. After an amazing weekend, she pulls back. Fewer texts, short replies. Your mind stitches that distance to the Bali story, and you feel the urge to chase hard, to push for reassurance. That is the trap: over-investing to solve an insecurity that isn't your responsibility. The move is simple and firm. Send one clear invitation with a day and time. If she's vague twice, you stop initiating and return to your mission training. Work, sleep, your people, your calendar. Let effort measure interest. If she wants in, she'll close the gap. If she doesn't, you just saved your dignity and your time. Another scenario. She tells you about a wild phase. You want to moralize or interrogate because you think control will make you safe. It won't. It turns you into the parent, not the man. Hold your frame. Ask one neutral question only if it affects your standards. Where are you at her? Then watch what she does next week, not what she says tonight. If her behavior violates your standards: public flirting, messy nightlife, exes in orbit, you don't lecture. You exit quietly. She will feel the weight of your absence more than the sting of your words. Stop competing with ghosts. You cannot outperform a fantasy you built to punish yourself. Competing makes you perform. Performing makes you needy. Neediness kills desire. Replace comparison with calibration. Calibrate to yourself: sleep, lifting, sunlight, clean food, cash flow, forward motion. Calibrate to the dynamic. Does she initiate? Reciprocate, invest. If yes, reward with presence. If not, remove attention. Your attention is not free. It's earned by respect and reliability. That's not cruelty. That's standard. Test interest without games. The gap test after a strong date. Go 24 hours without initiating. If she reaches out or accepts your next invite with energy, green light. If she goes quiet repeatedly, downshift. The respect test set a soft boundary. Let's keep X talk off our time, or no phones at dinner, and see if she follows without turning it into a fight. If she can't respect small things, she won't protect big things. The priority test offers a specific plan. If she pushes you into vagueness and keeps you there, you step back and recenter. No anger needed, just clarity. And when the wave of insecurity spikes anyway, remember this: you don't have to fix the entire relationship. You only have to win the next minute. Breathe, say less, observe more. Keep your dignity in motion. A man who knows he can walk away is finally free to choose to stay. That choice unforced, rooted in standards. Not fear is what makes you magnetic, not louder, clearer. Have you ever interrogated a woman about her past and felt her desire drop in real time? What detail trips your wire the fastest? Old photos, an ex's name, or attention withdrawal? Which boundary are you avoiding because you're afraid it might make her leave? Tell me below. You think the pain is about her, but it's really about the gap between who you say you are and how you act when your fear is poked. Triggers weaponize ambiguity. A vague comment about an ex, an old photo still up, a throwaway line about a wild phase your mind rushes to fill in the missing footage with the worst version of you losing to the best version of someone else. That's the comparison spiral. It feeds on ungrounded imagination and starves when you replace fantasy with protocol. You don't need more reassurance. You need moves you can run on autopilot when the wave hits, so you stop bleeding status in real time. Here's the protocol for past trigger moments. First, the 90-second reset. When you feel the punch in your gut, stop talking, shoulders down, jaw unclench. Breathe to 5 in and 5 out until your voice is steady again. Second, frame the moment. Calmly say, I'm here to build something in the present. No sarcasm, no moral lecture. If she's sharing to connect, she'll soften. If she's sharing to provoke, she'll escalate. That tells you what you're dealing with. Third, drop the rope. Don't argue with her highlights reel. You won't win. You don't even have the footage. If she tries to pull you into a comparison, refuse the frame with, I'm not playing in a triangle. Then go quiet and let the silence work. Fourth, standard check. Ask yourself 2 questions. Only, is the present respectful? Is the behavior consistent? If yes, proceed as normal. If not, reduce investment by 50% for a week and watch the pattern without announcement. Fifth, anchor to your calendar. Book your training, your work blocks, your sleep. When you are on schedule, her past can't drag you into unscheduled chaos. Picture Marco at a rooftop bar. She mentions a reckless year, laughs, then watches him to see if he'll flinch. Old Marco would have interrogated, tried to outdo her stories, performed himself into a hole. New Marco runs the protocol. He resets, says, I don't compare, I connect. He tells a quick story about a value he lives now and shifts back to the moment. Later that week, she starts a slow fade. Old Marco would have chased. New Marco sends one clear invite for Thursday 7 p.m, then returns to his calendar. She declines twice with vague excuses. No drama. He downshifts, stops initiating, and watches. A week later, she resurfaces with energy, apologizes, and invests. He doesn't reward inconsistency with instant access. He sets a new plan a few days out and observes her follow-through. Effort reveals interest. Absence Tests respect. He lets the data speak without declaring a courtroom speech. Attention withdrawal as control has a tell. It usually appears right after intimacy or right after you set a boundary. She goes colder, slower, a little more active on socials, and drops a casual reference to an ex or options. The trap is to sprint after her to close the gap. Don't mirror the energy. Reduce output by half and increase quality, fewer messages. Concrete plans. If the coldness is a test, she will warm when she feels your frame is solid. If it's a pattern, the space exposes it quickly so you can exit without setting yourself on fire to keep the illusion warm. Over-investing feels like action, but it's a tax on your respect. Fix it with 2 rules. 3 unanswered messages, total lifetime, means you wait for inbound. Vague twice on plans means you stop proposing dates and focus on those who match your clarity. Pair that with the debrief you avoid. Why did you abandon your schedule to manage her feelings? What did that buy you except resentment? A man anchored to his non-negotiables is harder to move than a man begging for promises. Your mind will still try to replay scenes you never saw. Kill the movie with movement. The no rumination rule is simple the moment you catch the loop. Stand up, 10 slow breaths or 10 push-ups, cold water on your face. Then do a task that improves your life by 1% in 10 minutes. Meal prep, inbox 0, laundry, journaling 3 sentences. Train your nervous system to associate the trigger with upgrades, not spirals. That conditioning is power. Social media is gasoline. If old photos of her and someone else are still pinned, don't stalk, don't dig captions, don't read comments out of context at 1 a.m. Bring one boundary once I keep our time free of X-centered displays. If you want to keep those up, that's your choice, and I'll make mine. Then watch behavior. If she protects the relationship, great. If she argues for public nostalgia, your exit will teach more than your lecture. You are not demanding purity, you are protecting privacy and respect. Your attention is currency. Spend it where it compounds. Build a simple red flag index you can't weasel past. Respect, reliability, reciprocity, privacy boundaries. Emotional steadiness, score each from 0 to 5 after 30 days. If the average dips under 3, walk. Not because you're angry, but because you refuse to grow in rocky soil. That is masculine self-possession, the willingness to let go of what threatens your center. Have you ever felt a slow fade right after you set a boundary and chased anyway? What part of the protocol will you practice this week? The 90-second reset, the drop the rope, or the calendar anchor? Which social media boundary do you need to bring once cleanly, without drama? You think jealousy is about her history, but it's really about the story you tell yourself when you feel replaceable. Scarcity writes that story. It says, if she could like him, she could stop liking me. And then your body scrambles to secure what cannot be secured another person's free choice. That's why comparisons feel like drowning. You try to control oxygen you don't own. The antidote is not to control harder. It's to build an inner environment where you are not negotiable with yourself. When you become consistent with you, other people's archives stop feeling like threats and start looking like plain information. There are patterns that reliably hook men. The jealousy induction microdose sounds like my ex used to take me to this spot, delivered with a sideways glance to measure your reaction. The pre-selection flex arrives as I've always had options, right after you set a boundary. The nostalgia grenade shows up as those were the craziest nights. Dropped the moment you gain momentum together. Recognize the cue, pause your mouth, and run a 3-step response. Name it. Normalize, neutralize, name. That sounds like a comparison. Normalize, everyone has a past. Neutralize, I'm here to build something better now. Then change the channel to the present, your plan for the weekend, a shared joke, the next move. If she keeps steering back to the X museum, stop touring. If this is going to be X-centered, I'm out for tonight. Then actually leave. Not a threat, a standard. Policing is not vetting. Policing fuses you to the story you hate, checking her DMs, demanding detailed timelines, interrogating minor details to soothe an ache that never gets soothed. Vetting is quiet observation over time. You are looking for 3 things, only patterns of respect: reliability and reciprocity. Respect: does she protect your connection from third-party drama and public flirt bait? Reliability: does she do what she says without you managing her? Reciprocity: does she match your effort without you prompting every step? If these are present consistently, stop manufacturing danger. If they're absent, you don't debate, you downshift and prepare to walk. Here's Jason. He found an old album on her coffee table, photos of festivals, a guy he doesn't know with his arm around her. Old Jason would have stayed up until 3 a.m, zooming, cross-referencing captions, then showing up edgy and passive-aggressive the next day. New Jason runs the no forensic archaeology rule. You don't CSI someone's past to create pain you'll use against them. He asks one present tense question only if it affects his standards. What do you want now? She says she's done with chaos. Wants slow. Wants real. He doesn't crown her for saying the right words. He watches the weak. She cancels one plan last minute and posts a thirst trap with a remember when caption tag. Old Jason would argue morality. New Jason uses if-then language. I like privacy and forward motion. I don't do public throwbacks that invite exes into our time. If that continues, I'll step back. She laughs it off. He doesn't. He pauses plans for 72 hours. No pouting, no lecture. She feels the space and either adjusts or she doesn't. Either way, he protects his center. Overinvestment is the most expensive way to buy disrespect. You overtext, overexplain, overgive because you hope to prepay abandonment. The fix is procedural. Temperature check after any date. Wait 24 hours before initiating. Not as a game, but as a calibration. If she reaches out, accepts the next invite, and follows through, you reward with presence. If she drifts, you don't chase your way into a maybe. You redirect energy to your non-negotiables. Write them down: sleep window, training blocks, revenue work, family check-in. 1 blank hour for solitude. Keep them even when she is amazing, especially when she is amazing. A man who abandons himself at the first rush abandons himself at the first test. When she withdraws attention after intimacy, assume nothing. Some women get spooked, some test, some rotate attention like a DJ. Your job is the same: mirror the pace, raise the quality. Thursday, 7 p.m, new Thai spot. Join if you're free. If she replies with lukewarm, vague twice, stop initiating for 7 days. If she reappears with energy, set a date 3 to 5 days out. You're teaching your system that you don't reward inconsistency with immediacy. That's not petty. That's regulation. Here's a frame trick that saves you hours. Replace. Why did she do that with, what does this behavior cost me if repeated for 6 months? Imagining the cost pulls you out of the ego wound and into leadership. If the cost is self-respect erosion, you decline the dynamic. Not because you're judging her, but because you're protecting the life you're building. Clarity makes you quiet. Quiet makes you heavy. Heavy men don't chase noise. Do a 3-column audit tonight. Column 1, behavior you observe. Column 2, the story you tell yourself about it. Column 3, your standard. She posted a throwback with her ex. Story, I'm not enough. Standard, my relationships aren't public triangles. Action, bring one boundary once, then measure follow through. If it fails, step back. If it holds, proceed. Replace hypervigilance with follow through. Replace control with consequence. What line do you cross the fastest when you feel replaceable over texting, snooping, or moral lecturing? Which if-then boundary do you need to say once this week and actually enforce? When has leaving quietly protected more of your dignity than arguing loudly? The cost of obsessing over her past isn't just anxiety, it's the slow erosion of your authority over your own life. Every time you spiral, you outsource leadership to a ghost. You stop noticing what she actually does and start managing an imaginary rival. That's how men end up policing, pleading, and preaching themselves into unattractive shapes. You don't need to be harder, you need to be heavier. Heaviness is composure plus consequence. It's the gravity you create when your standards are simple, stated once, and backed by action. Women respect gravity. Manipulation bounces off it. Let's get surgical about 3 traps that show up around her past. First, the disclosure bait. She shares intimate stories with a tone that scans your reaction. If you flinch, you teach her that your attention is purchased by provocation. Don't pay, stay warm, not reactive. We've all lived. I'm interested in how we move now. If she insists on explicit detail or uses past scenes to raise your insecurity, name the pattern that feels like a test, not connection. I don't do tests. Then pivot back to the moment or end the night early. Your move isn't punishment, it's protection of the atmosphere you require to be your best. Second, the friend chorus. You meet her circle, and someone jokes about the old days. The rookie mistake is to perform louder stories, bigger gestures, proving you're not intimidated. The seasoned move is minimal. Smile, acknowledge lightly, and return your focus to her presence with you now. If a friend keeps reviving ex-history in front of you, you don't argue with the friend. You calibrate with her later. I'm not interested in third parties narrating us. Keep that out of our space. Then you measure follow-through. If the chorus continues, your attendance decreases. Nothing kills off-key commentary like your absence. Third, the ex in orbit. He DMs, she keeps it friendly, and you feel the itch to litigate. You don't. You lay out your stance once I'm not available for triangles. If you want old connections, do that. If you want us, protect this. Then you observe. If she closes the loop, good. If she defends open doors, you step back. Not because she's evil, but because your life is not a waiting room for people who can't decide. Choice is respect. Here's a live scenario and the exact moves. You're at a house party. Her ex walks in. She waves. They exchange a quick hug. She introduces you with neutral tone. Your nerves spike. Step 1, body reset, breath, posture, pace. Step 2, logistics, leadership, get drinks. Introduce her to someone you know. Keep the night moving. Step 3, minimal commentary. You're not here to analyze a museum exhibit. You're here to be present. Later, when you're alone, you say the line that keeps you sane. I don't do proximity with past entanglements. If he's going to be a fixture, I'm not. Then you watch the next 30 days. Does she avoid situations that blur lines? Does she involve you decisively, or does she keep you in ambiguity? Your decision is downstream of consistent behavior, not a one-night adrenaline spike. Stop turning yourself into her therapist when past trauma becomes an infinite tunnel at 1 a.m. Compassion is masculine. Emotional labor as identity is self-erasure. You can be kind and boundaried at once. I'm here for you. and I want you to get the steady help this deserves. I can't be your counselor, but I can be your man present. Honest, steady. Then you set a limit on midnight spirals and encourage professional support. If she weaponizes pain to avoid accountability, your distance is medicine for both of you. Replace jealousy with audits. Monthly, rate the relationship on 5 dials: privacy protection, plan reliability, emotional steadiness, reciprocity of effort, conflict recovery speed, 0 to 5 each, below 3 on average for 6 weeks. Walk. Do this in writing, not in your head, so your standards stop drifting with your moods. Pair the audit with a weekly masculine minimum 3 training sessions, 8 hours of deep work, 2 hours of logistics for your life, 1 long walk without your phone, and 1 hour of pure solitude. These aren't self-care stickers, they are ballast. Ballast keeps ships steady in choppy water. Here's Rami. His girlfriend loved nostalgia nights with her old crew, which included 2 ex-flings. He used to attend and leave feeling smaller. He switched strategies. He said once, "I'm not doing rooms that blur lines. If you want our future, curate your present." Then he stopped attending. No sarcasm, no sulking. 2 things happened. The crew nights became less frequent, and her energy toward him sharpened. When she tried to revive the old pattern, he didn't argue. He was simply unavailable. Gravity changed the room more than speeches ever did. Finally, kill rumination with replacement rituals. The moment the old movie starts, you run a fixed sequence: breath, water, movement, task. Then an outbound act that builds your world: a call to a brother, booking a trip, sending a proposal. Your nervous system learns that triggers equal upgrades over weeks. The pull loses power because your body associates the feeling with forward motion, not paralysis. What room do you keep entering that shrinks you? A friend group, a social feed, a late night call? Which simple line will you say once this week and let consequence teach the rest when her past gets waved in your face? Do you perform, police, or pivot? Be honest. You want relief from the trigger, but what you actually need is a rebuild of the man who gets triggered. Most guys try to solve it with information body counts, timelines, answers that feel like closure until they don't. Information doesn't fix insecurity. Identity does. When you anchor to who you are under pressure, you stop auditioning for reassurance and start selecting for alignment. That shift is everything, because the same detail that once shook you becomes a simple filter. Does her present fit your future? Yes or no? Start by separating privacy from secrecy. Privacy protects intimacy. Secrecy hides rot. You don't need the full archive to feel safe. You need proof that she protects your bond from outside noise, that she isn't keeping active channels with men who want her, that she curates her environment for clarity. Your line is neutral and clean. I don't do triangles or public nostalgia. If we're building, let's build. If she argues that standards are control, remember that standards are not rules for her. They are requirements for you. You're not telling her what to do. You're telling yourself what you will stay for. Stop asking questions that turn you into a statistician. How many is a trap with no good outcome? It pulls you into math that can only erode desire or provoke performance. Replace it with present-focused vetting. What does a loyal week look like to you? How do you handle attention from men you're not interested in? What's your cleanup process after a messy chapter? Then watch the next 30 days. The answer isn't in her sentences, it's in her logistics. If she blocks distractions, keeps plans, and brings steady energy, act accordingly. If she makes chaos look romantic, step back. You don't fix chaos. You stop feeding it. Here's a precise move for when she waves old stories to watch your reaction. Don't moralize. Don't pry. Don't ice out. Tilt the frame to the future. Cool. Here's what a great 90 days looks like to me. 2 dates a week with phones down. No ex-centered rooms. Plans made 3 days in advance. Small trips on the calendar and hard conversations handled early. If that sounds like your lane, amazing. If not, no hard feelings. Notice what happened. You set the terms without accusation. You offered a road, not a jail. Then you stick to your road. If she wanders off, you don't chase across traffic. You wish her well and keep walking. When you feel the obsession spark at 1 a.m., deploy the intercept. It's a simple 3-minute ritual you run every time. Minute 1, physiological break, cold water on your face, breath to your belly, shoulders back. Minute 2, identity line out loud. I'm a man who protects his mind, picks his battles, and passes on triangles. Minute 3, forward act, book a training session, transfer money to savings, confirm a work block, text your brother to meet, condition your nervous system to translate threat into upgrade. Over time, the trigger becomes a bell that rings you back to power. Tactically, adopt the 2-week rule. Across 14 days, you will not negotiate about the past. You will not stalk feeds. You will not ask for reassurance. You will observe current behavior, keep your routines, and bring one boundary once when needed. If the dynamic calms, proceed. If it deteriorates, you exit without ceremony. 2 weeks is enough to reveal patterns without you torching your dignity trying to control the weather. Pair this with the 1-sentence boundary protocol. When something crosses your line, say it in one breath. No edge, I don't do X. If it continues, I'll step back. Then do exactly that. Consequence, not debate, is your language. If she withdraws affection after you get closer, don't label yourself unworthy or her evil. Test for regulation. Offer one grounded plan. If she declines vaguely twice, you slow your output and give the connection air. If she returns with warmth, schedule with a small delay so you don't reward inconsistency with instant access. If she keeps oscillating, don't assign villains, assign probabilities. Oscillation today predicts exhaustion tomorrow. Opt out. Here's a scene. You're in bed. She mentions a city she didn't sleep much in. Old, you would stiffen, ask who, demand detail, poison the moment. New, you says, everyone has a past. I care how we treat each other now. Then you kiss her forehead and sleep deeply because your standard is not a story, it's her pattern tomorrow. She either meets it or she doesn't. Your worth is not up for auction while you wait. Finally, build a life that makes you harder to move. Keep 5 anchors non-negotiable regardless of romance training, deep work, brotherhood, nature, and solitude. Men who keep these pillars don't collapse into rumination because their days are already spoken for. Your schedule is a shield. Your mission is a magnet. The more you honor both, the less her history feels like a verdict, and the more it feels like data you can use without flinching. Which question have you asked that gave you information but stole your peace? What would your ideal 90 days look like if you stated it plainly? Without fear. When the 1 a.m. ass movie starts tonight, what will your intercept be? Breath, identity line, or forward act? You don't win this by finding perfect words. You win it by becoming the man who doesn't abandon himself when pressure hits. Detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's the quiet decision that your standards, your schedule, and your state are not for sale. When her history brushes against your nerves, you won't bargain with ghosts anymore. You won't perform to outshine a memory. You will measure the present, protect your frame, and choose with calm finality. That choice is the end of your insecurity's reign, because insecurity feeds on maybes, and you are about to become a man of yes or no. Here is how the ending looks when you do it right. First, you stop litigating the past. You audit the present. Respect, reliability, reciprocity. Either they show up or they don't. You don't coax them into existence. You record the data and act. Second, you enforce boundaries in one sentence and one move. I don't do triangles. If that continues, I'll step back, followed by an actual step back, if needed. No speeches, no edge, no double text explaining the philosophy of self-worth. Third, you guard your logistics. Training stays on the calendar. Deep work blocks hold. Sleep is a promise you keep to yourself. You don't abandon your pillars to chase someone who is testing whether you'll collapse. You don't collapse. You become heavy. If ending is required, you run an exit protocol like a professional. 24 hours of cool, no reactive paragraphs, then 2 sentences, clean and final. I'm not aligned with this dynamic. I wish you well. You pick up your things, or you mail hers back. You mute feeds you shouldn't see. You do not monitor from the shadows, because surveillance is the diet of the unhealed. You replace the compulsion with movement, Jim. Numbers, nature, brothers, a project with a finish line. Every trigger becomes a rep. Every rep becomes a brick. Soon you're living inside a structure you built with your own hands instead of camping inside someone else's storyline. If continuing is earned, you slow the pace and raise the standard. 2 dates a week with phones down. Plans set 3 days ahead. No X-centered rooms. Arguments handled within 24 hours or they expire. You bring this once, not as a demand, but as a map. This is the lane I move in. Watch what she does with the map. A woman who wants the same thing will add her weight to the forward motion. A woman who wants drama will try to keep you on the edge of your seat. You were not born to live on a cliff. Step back to solid ground. Understand what actually changed. You stopped trying to fix the trigger with information and started protecting your identity with action. You learned to sit still when your chest burned, to choose softness in tone and steel in consequence, to let silence clarify what arguments always complicate. You learned that jealousy is a fantasy you wrote to punish yourself, and you replaced it with audits that keep your life honest. You learned that the man who can walk away is the man who can stay without begging. You learned to love in alignment instead of attachment present, generous, unafraid to lose what will cost you yourself. Picture Leon, months from now. He hears her mention a city from the wild years. He smiles without flinching, because his worth is not up for negotiation in that conversation or any other. Later, an ex pings her. She shows him, blocks the thread, and moves on without ceremony. They keep their Thursday ritual. They plan a weekend hike. They solve small conflicts early. Or maybe it goes the other way. She revives old patterns, keeps doors open, romanticizes chaos. Leon doesn't declare war or write essays. He says his one sentence, and he exits. He eats, sleeps, lifts, works, laughs with people who add weight to his life. He doesn't need a villain to feel strong. He needs a mission, and he is on it. This is the quiet power you were chasing the loud way. You don't need to win against the past. You need to win yourself back from it. You do that by choosing your standards today and proving them tomorrow. You do it by ending triangles, by refusing nostalgia theaters, by keeping your calendar heavy and your words light. You do it by becoming a man who is willing to lose what does not honor him so he can build what does. Whatever happens next, you are not replaceable where it matters most inside your own leadership. If she meets you there, you will move through life with presence and ease. If she doesn't, you will move through life with presence and ease. That's the peace you were trying to buy with control. You never needed control. You needed courage. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.